Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk to you from the 15th chapter of John. Pastor's preaching in John. I used to preach from the 15th chapter of John. This is my Bible I use in evangelism, and I have about 5 or 6 sermons from the 15th chapter of John. It's such a good chapter, and this is kind of my Bible. It's so used right here, and I never washed my hands when I read it, evidently, because I got it worn out, but it's also very dirty. I noticed it. It's kind of got holes in it. I've got a piece of it right there that fits in there somewhere, right in here, I think. Somewhere. But anyway, let me read to you the 15th chapter of John. I'll just read a couple verses. In verse 5 of the 15th chapter, he says, I am the vine. This is Jesus speaking. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and is withered, and men gather them, and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. But if you abide in me, and my words abide in you, then you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so shall you be my disciples. Well, I love this passage, and when I think about abiding, I think about the fact that, well, it's a word that we don't use a lot. Abode. You know, like you don't say, where is your abode? You know, you don't say that much anymore. It's a kind of a King James word, abide. Continue, live in is a better probably translation. Abide, though, when I think of the word abide, I think of living in being in my favorite chair, which is a lazy boy chair, leaning back, and where I can just take a nap so easy. I mean, it's easy. Well, I'm older, and it's easier to take naps. I found out that, I can take a nap at the drop of a hat. Anyway, the 15th chapter of John, let's get back to that. Abide in me, he said, and my words abide in you. Then you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit. Well, abiding in the Lord is allowing His Holy Spirit to feel right in us. I mean, there's no place in the world that you feel better than being at home, in your favorite chair, watching your favorite television program, or reading your favorite book, or whatever. And it is just, that's the word abide. And so Psalms 37:4 says something like this: delight thyself also in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Now that basically is saying that he's going to put in his desires in you if you can abide or desire or delight in his presence. Well, delighting in the Lord is kind of like abiding. And so we abide in the Lord, and his words abide in us. They just feel right. They feel comfortable in us. And we say, Lord, put your word in me, put your desires in me. Fill me with your desires so that I can bear the fruit that you want me to bear. You know, one of the things that I found out, and our speakers and our pastor always talks about this, the fact that God's not done with any of us yet. And we can always bear his fruit, which is love and kindness. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, patience, kindness, long-suffering. And in Galatians 5, I love that passage, the fruit of the Spirit. So if we would abide in him, if we're resting in him, and he's allowing his word to come in us in Psalms 37:4, and he's going to give us the desires of our heart. He's going to put them in there. We're going to think differently. I've been telling you what, before I was saved, I thought about stuff that I shouldn't have been thinking about, and I wanted to do stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. My mom was an alcoholic, and she lived on Skid Row in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was down in Coolidge when I got saved, and I gave my heart to the Lord. Anyway, my desires were kind of all, I was becoming an alcoholic very quickly, and now I can't hardly stand to drink at all. But I mean, I'm going to tell you, I was not a good guy, and everybody knows everything about everybody in Coolidge. Well, they knew about me, and my brother, he got saved before I did, and then I was making fun of him and stuff, and well, then I started going to the church that he wanted me to go to, and that my dad wanted me to go to, and this Nazarene preacher, he started working on me, boy, I tell you what, man. And one time, the Lord got a hold of my heart, and I began to abide in His Word. I began to abide with His people. I began to love to be in church. I love to do the will of God, because He started filling my heart with His desires, not my desires. And so it was easier for me to abide in Him because He was in me, and He had changed my life completely. I loved that Sunday when we sang at the end of the service, "Change my heart, oh God, make it wholly thine. Change my heart, oh God." Da, 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 da. I love that song. It's so good. And because He changed my heart, and He filled me with His desires. So His Word began to abide in me as I was abiding in Him. And bearing fruit, well, I don't think He's done with any of us yet. There's always there's someone who needs encouragement, somebody that needs to hear about Jesus, hear about your testimony. Everybody's got a story, and I certainly do. And so I share it with folks once in a while, and I'm encouraging you to abide in the Lord and let His words abide in you today. God bless you. Thanks for listening.